Ethan Blackwood didn't know whether he was running from something or toward it. All he knew was that he needed the road, the hum of asphalt, the darkness swallowing the world outside the headlights, the illusion of movement towards something better. It had always been that way, ever since he was a kid, when the road was the only time the shouting stopped. Now he is 29, jobless, alone. His phone was on airplane mode, not because he was being polite, but because he couldn't bear to see the last text from Claire. "I hope the silence gives you what you want." He didn't reply. What was there to say? He'd been silent in more ways than she could know. It was a habit. It was an inheritance. The road stretched endlessly in front of him, black ribbon under a cloudy sky. No stars, no moon, no other cars. Just his silver Honda Accord, the low rumble of the engine, and the whispering wipers brushing away the beginnings of rain. The highway sign he passed didn't have a destination on it. It just said east, as if going in any direction was enough. To Ethan, it was... He had already driven for 4 hours. He'd packed nothing but a backpack with 2 shirts, a bottle of water, and his old book of CDs. Scratched discs from a time when things didn't feel so heavy. There was a cheap motel somewhere past the state line he planned to stop at. But recently, the idea of somewhere gave him more comfort than a real place ever did. The GPS had lost signal about 30 minutes ago. Didn't really bother him. He wasn't driving to a point on a map. Just away. The first sign of something strange was subtle. So subtle he might have ignored it if he wasn't already on edge. The mile marker on the side of the road. It looked normal at first glance. Plain white, reflective, with a stripe of red paint instead of a number. Not the usual green with digits. Just a red horizontal slash. Like a warning, or a line crossed out. He passed it and kept driving. 10 minutes later he passed another one. Same exact thing. Same height. Same red slash. Same angle of tilt in the soft dirt on the shoulder. He sat forward, squinting through the rain. Was it the same one? No. That didn't make sense. He'd been driving straight. There were no exits, no turns. 30 minutes passed. Still no cars, still no gas stations, still no GPS, just the radio static, and his own breathing. And then, another one. Red slash, learning. Identical. He let out a breath that was meant to sound like a laugh, but it came out sharp, brittle. "Maintenance screwed up," he muttered. "Some dumb road project. Laying markers down before they're printed or something." But his voice felt thin in the cabin of the car, like the words didn't actually touch anything, like the road was eating them. The rain became thicker, drumming against the windshield in waves. The night deepened. He switched stations until he landed on a late-night FM music block. Soft jazz, odd choice for a road like this, but better than silence. Then the music abruptly stopped, and a slow, dragging voice replaced it. "The road is long when the memories aren't gone." Ethan froze. The voice wasn't a commercial, wasn't a song lyric. Just a voice, low and steady, like an old man sitting in a rocking chair in a dark corner of the room. He reached toward the dial. "You can't outrun what you didn't bury." His fingers paused. The station wasn't labeled, just AM0. Impossible. The voice continued. "Left behind things don't stay behind. They wait. They wait for the night to fall longer than the day." Ethan turned the radio off. Silence. Just the road, just the rain, just that whispering sound of the tires pressing into wet earth. Except, for one horrible moment, he thought he heard something else. Footsteps, near the rear of the car. He checked the rearview mirror. Nothing but black. Then again, louder, like someone running, only for a second, as if they were catching up to the car. He pressed on the gas. Not enough to draw attention, just enough to get past the fear forming like a film over his skin. He drove another mile before daring to speak again. "You're tired," he murmured to himself. "You've been awake since 6. You need sleep. That's all." But the truth was different. He hadn't been awake since 6. He'd been awake since yesterday. And the mind, when tired enough, doesn't need monsters to scare itself, just shadows. He wiped his face with one hand, feeling sweat that didn't belong in this weather. Felt like a fever. It felt like a memory. The road dipped, then rose. The rain slowed. He reached a long stretch of flat black where the only thing visible was the occasional reflection of his headlights in the road signs. And then, a human shape, standing on the shoulder, facing the car. He jerked the wheel, nearly swerving. The figure was motionless. pale shirt, wet hair plastered to the head. No backpack, no suitcase, just a person, or something shaped like one. His breath caught in his throat. Shit. The figure didn't raise an arm, didn't signal for help, didn't move at all. Just watched the car go by. Ethan looked in the rear view. The figure was still facing the road, still staring, as if expecting something. He drove faster. He didn't believe what he'd seen. But he'd definitely seen something. Someone. That was the problem. He didn't want to stop, but somewhere deep inside was a voice, that reflexive human voice saying, what if they need help? What if the next car isn't safe? What if you're the only one who can do something? But Ethan wasn't stupid. Not on a road like this. Not alone. Not at night. Not when something in his chest was screaming. It's not a person if it doesn't act like one. He shut the thought down and kept going. The jazz station came back suddenly, like nothing had happened. He didn't touch it. He let it play. Another 10 minutes passed, another red-slashed mile marker, and then another figure on the side of the road. Same stance, same clothes, same stillness. No way that was a different person. No way he'd driven in a circle. The road was straight, perfectly straight, unless straight didn't mean what it used to. Not out here, not at night, not with a tired mind and memories clawing at the edges. Ethan drove faster. He passed the next marker, the next image, the next marker again. The clock on the dashboard read 2:47 a.m., then 2:47 a.m. again, then 2:47 a.m. again. He checked his phone. 2:47 a.m., no service, no GPS. He was driving, but time wasn't moving. I just need rest, he whispered. Just reach the motel, just lie down, just get 1 hour. But deep down he knew something awful. There was no motel on this road. Not anymore. Ethan kept his eyes on the road with the intensity of someone trying to outrun a dream they hadn't finished having. The windshield wipers beat back the rain in a hypnotic rhythm. Back and forth, like the pendulum of a clock that refused to let time pass. The digital display on the dashboard still read 2:47 a.m. He felt the air getting colder, but the heater was already set to high. He turned the knob, but the cold didn't dissipate. It wasn't the kind of cold that came from outside. It was the kind that bloomed from the inside of the bones. His father used to call it ghost cold. The kind that stays after something's already gone. He shifted in his seat, trying to shake off the tension, but his mind kept drifting, right back to those red-slashed mile markers. They weren't right. They weren't normal. And the hitchhiker, he shouldn't have seen him twice. Yet the figure's stillness hadn't been the scariest part. It was his presence, like a photograph taped to the road, perfectly still no matter how fast the world moved around it. Another lonely stretch of blacktop passed beneath him, and Ethan's eyes caught sight of something up ahead, faint, flickering. A rectangle of light in the distance. He leaned forward, a building. Finally his shoulders sagged with shaky relief. It looked like a gas station, small, old, but at least it was something. Humans, or at least he hoped so. He slowed the car, turned into the gravel lot. The station was run down, maybe abandoned. A single broken light flickered above the front door. The sign was missing letters, but the faded imprint looked like it once read, Riverstone Fuel. He parked. The headlights cast long shadows across the station lot. His hand hovered over the door handle, as if something in his body was warning him, don't go in there. But he needed answers, needed directions, needed to know that he hadn't slipped into some kind of mental whirlpool. He stepped out, closing the car door softly behind him. His shoes crunched on gravel. The air was colder out here, sharper. The glass door to the shop had a giant crack through the middle. Ethan pressed a hand to it, expecting no response, but the door pushed open easily. The inside was dimly lit. A single bulb buzzed overhead. Shelves were lined with dusty snacks and half-empty shelves where bottled water should be. There was a counter with an old cash register. Behind it, a man stood, but he wasn't moving. Ethan inhaled slowly. Hello? The man looked up. His eyes were too wide for his face. They didn't blink, just stared. His beard was too uneven. His fingernails are too long. He had the look of someone who'd stopped keeping track of the days, or who'd never learned how. The clerk spoke suddenly, in a flat tone. You shouldn't be on this road. Ethan froze. Sorry? The man didn't move, didn't look away, just repeated, You shouldn't be here. No one should be here at this hour. The way he said this hour made Ethan's skin crawl, like he wasn't talking about a time on a clock but a point in a cycle. Ethan swallowed. I'm trying to get east. GPS stopped working. I think I passed the same mile marker twice. The clerk's eyes narrowed, as if Ethan had said something obscene. The markers aren't for distance anymore. Ethan blinked. What do you mean? They're for warning. A silence grew between them, thick and suffocating. Ethan finally broke it. Who are they warning? The clerk blinked slowly. You. Ethan's breathing went shallow. The clerk stepped back as if suddenly remembering himself. He wiped his hands on a stained rag and nodded to the back wall. Follow the road till the trees end. Don't stop for anyone. Don't look in the mirrors. Ethan stared. The clerk continued, voice lower now. Especially don't stop if you see someone on the shoulder. They've been there too long. Ethan's heart thudded. You mean the hitchhiker? The man's face twitched. Not a hitchhiker. Then what? Just get back in your car. Nothing in the man's tone welcomed further discussion. Ethan backed away, reaching for the door. But before he left, the clerk spoke one more time, voice just above a whisper. Don't trust the radio. It always tells the truth. Ethan was trembling by the time he reached the car. He opened the door and slid into the seat like he'd escaped something, a feeling more than a place. As he put the keys in the ignition, he glanced back toward the gas station. The clerk was still standing behind the counter, still watching, like a photograph, like that man on the road, like time wasn't moving. He turned the key. The car didn't start. He tried again. Nothing. Not even a click. He took a slow breath and turned the key a third time. The radio came on before the engine did, loudly, violently, blasting into static like a scream, and then the voice returned. He warned you about me. That was kind. Ethan's blood ran cold. He reached for the power button, but the radio wouldn't turn off. He hit it again. Nothing. Static still roared. Words began forming under it, like voices trapped under water. Mile, marker, red, marker, red, again. Again. The car suddenly started, on its own. Ethan jerked backward as the engine roared to life without him touching the key again. The radio slowly faded to a whisper. You can leave, but the road won't let you forget. Ethan slammed the radio off with the side of his fist. This time it worked. Silence. He gripped the steering wheel, heart pounding, and drove out of the station lot fast enough to slide the tires in the gravel. He didn't look back. He didn't want to. Rain started falling again, heavy now. His eyes stung from the sting of it, but then he saw something in the road up ahead, illuminated for just 1 second. A mile marker with a red slash beside it. Another figure. Standing still, facing him, Ethan's knuckles turned white on the wheel. The car went faster. The road felt longer, and time still reads 2:47 a.m. The rain poured heavier now, a sheet of falling glass. Ethan leaned forward, struggling to see more than a few feet past the reach of his headlights. They cut through the night like a blade, but the darkness beyond seemed dull, endless, devouring the edges of the world. The wipers fought the storm relentlessly, back and forth, never catching up. Still, the road stayed empty, too empty. The figure ahead disappeared into the blur of rain and shadow as he passed. Ethan didn't even turn his head this time. I didn't need to. He already knew what he'd see if he did. Stillness, a face in the dark, eyes following the car. He drove on, gripping the wheel harder. Somehow, no matter how tight he held it, the car felt shaky. The road felt old, uneven. A kind of vibration underneath his feet, like the asphalt was alive, humming with some kind of frequency he was just beginning to feel for the first time. The clock still read 2:47 m.m. He had been driving for hours, but time refused to move. His perception of distance was breaking. He had no sense of how far he'd gone, or how long he'd been here, just that the farther he went, the darker things seemed. Like the night was growing thicker. The voice of the gas station clerk echoed in his mind. Don't stop for anyone. Don't look in the mirrors. But the warning tangled with memory that didn't belong behind him, just ahead. His phone buzzed suddenly, startling him. He jumped in his seat and looked at the screen, surprised to see a signal bar flicker onto the display. A message notification appeared. Claire's name, 3 new voice messages. His heart twisted, both from guilt and something deeper. Claire never gave up, even after the silence stretched on. He tapped the message and her voice spilled into the car, soft, tired, shaking on the edges. "Ethan, I don't know where you are right now, but I had the dream again. The one about the road, the one you told me about. You were driving, and you said you saw someone standing in the fog, and that they were watching you even when you passed." Ethan's breath caught. He remembered telling her that, years ago, drunk, panicked, on the night that had shaped the rest of his life, you said you kept seeing the same person, like they were following you, but you didn't know if they were alive or not. A chill spread down his arms and into his fingers. The phone vibrated again. The second message. "You kept telling me the same thing for weeks after, that the road didn't feel real, that you weren't supposed to be there, that something was waiting for you just past the edge of the light." Static filled her last words like something else was speaking on the line. "You need to come back, Ethan. Something's wrong with that place. It's not just the road anymore." Ethan swallowed, throat dry. Claire knew. He hadn't told her everything, but she'd pieced enough together, enough to feel the shadow of it, enough to see it in her dreams, enough to hear the memory in his voice and recognize the fear that never went away. He clicked the third message. It didn't play. The phone screen flickered, then went black. Ethan swore under his breath and tossed it onto the passenger seat, heart hammering. He took a shaky breath. He wasn't alone on this road anymore. Something was with him, and it had been with him long before tonight. A light appeared up ahead. Headlights through the rain, a car, the first he'd seen in hours. Relief shot through him like a jolt of caffeine. He flashed his beams twice, signaling that he was in need. The other vehicle approached, slowing slightly. It was a pickup truck, old, rusted, headlights dim and flickering, no plates on the front. As it passed, Ethan turned his head to look at the driver. The man in the truck was staring at him, not on the road, at him, eyes black and unblinking, mouth slightly open, hands gripping the wheel too hard. The man's face was pale, so pale Ethan wondered if it was even a living person. For just a moment, for one terrible moment, Ethan felt like the man recognized him. Not like a stranger, like someone who'd been waiting. The truck kept going, slow and steady, and eventually disappeared into the rain behind him. Ethan stared forward again, pulse racing. He felt the urge to check the rearview mirror, but the gas station clerk's warning came back. "Don't look in the mirrors." He kept his eyes forward, driving faster. The rain hammered harder. Another red-slashed mile marker loomed on the right. Ethan's voice cracked as he spoke into the empty car. "Just keep going. Don't stop. Don't think." But the car began to slow. Not because Ethan was pressing the brake. Because the engine was dying. The gas pedal was losing pressure. The speedometer dropped from 60 to 50 to 40 to 20. No, he pressed. Down harder, but the car was crawling now, groaning like metal in pain. The lights flickered, the dashboard dimmed, and then the radio turned back on. The voice was waiting. "You can't drive out of a grave you never filled." Ethan slapped the radio, but it wasn't physical anymore, like it was coming from inside the car, the walls, the vents, everywhere. "You're almost back, Ethan. Just keep your eyes open. It's nearly time to see what you left behind." The car stopped completely. The rain lightened to a mist. The headlights showed something on the shoulder of the road, a man standing still, facing the car. Ethan stared. His chest felt hollow, his blood froze. The same man, same clothes, same posture, same silent accusation. He didn't blink, didn't breathe, didn't move. Ethan's hand moved toward the door handle, not to get out but to lock the car. But before he could touch, he heard something else, something behind him, something breathing, slow, steady, right, behind his seat. He didn't turn. He remembered the clerk's words, "Don't look in the mirrors," his eyes fixed on the windshield. His hands gripped the wheel so tight his knuckles turned white. The breathing grew closer and closer, until something gently whispered into the dark cabin. "You left me here, Ethan.